Welcome to Footarch Pro's Healthy Feet series, where we support your every step. Did you know that out of 206 bones in the human body, 52 of them are in the feet? That means that, despite being roughly only 5% of our total body weight, our feet have roughly 25% of our body's bones. But why do our feet need so many bones? The reason we were born with so many bones in our feet is because our feet serve a lot of functions in our daily lives. Our feet support our body weight on a daily basis. We'll call the body weight while standing still the static weight. Various activities, however, may mean putting more weight on our feet than usual. This weight that changes with motion is known as the dynamic weight. When we walk, our feet are actually bearing a dynamic weight of 1 to 2 times our static weight. When we run, the dynamic weight is 3 to 7 times our static weight. When we jump, the dynamic weight is 9 times our static weight. Let's use a 200 pounds person as an example. If this person is standing still, their feet are bearing a weight of 200 pounds. If they are walking, their feet are bearing 200 to 400 pounds. If they are running, their feet are bearing 600 to 1400 pounds. Finally, if they are jumping, their feet are bearing 1800 pounds. That's a lot of weight for a pair of feet to handle. With how much work our feet are doing every single day, it's no wonder why we easily feel sore feet after being on our feet all day. But some people tire out far more easily than others. Some people may find that their feet become sore within minutes, whereas others can stand for hours at a time without any problems. But what causes this difference? Just as how everyone has different bodies, we all also have different types of feet. Some feet types are more prone to fatigue and discomfort than others. If you've seen a camera tripod stand before, you'll notice how the 3 legs are enough to support the camera. Our feet each have 3 points that effectively work as a tripod stand would. These 3 points, in order of greatest weight support, are the center of the heel, also known as the calcaneus, the first metatarsal head, and the 5th metatarsal head. They are the major points that help our feet with stability, balance, and weight support. Each of the 3 arches of the foot connects 2 of these 3 points together. Let's talk about these 3 arches of the feet. These arches are important components that make our feet function. We call these arches the transverse arch, the medial longitudinal arch, and the lateral longitudinal arch. The transverse arch, marked in red on the slide, is located on the forefoot. The transverse arch acts as the propeller of the foot. Whenever we take a step, we actually push off of the transverse arch with each step, propelling us forward. In other words, the transverse arch is what helps us move. The medial longitudinal arch, marked in blue on the slide, is located on the inner side of our foot. The medial arch is the shock absorber. When we walk, run, or jump, our feet experience more impact against the ground surface. The medial arch is what helps our feet withstand the impact better by transmitting the impact through the deflection of the arch. Essentially, the medial arch is an elastic spring that helps dissipate the impact with each step. Without this arch, we would feel more pain when we walk, run, or jump. The last arch we'll talk about is the lateral longitudinal arch, marked in green on the slide. The lateral arch is located on the outer side of our foot and acts as the balancer. It's flatter than the medial arch and usually lies flat against the ground in a stationary position. When we walk, the lateral arch is what helps keep us steady. These 3 arches work together simultaneously to help us with locomotion. There are 3 arch types we commonly see here at Footarch Pro based on the height of the arches. These arches are categorized as normal arch, low arch, and high arch. The different arch heights can affect the foot's stability, balance, and pressure distribution. Footarch Pro uses a pressure scanner to determine the arch type and better understand each individual's foot condition. Different colors indicate different pressure levels. In order of highest to lowest pressure, the colors are dark red, red, yellow, green, and blue. When we look at a foot pressure scan, we would ideally see the arch curve upwards briefly before curving downwards, forming an ear-like shape. This curve would ideally be a distinct line. Underneath this curve should be very little pressure, indicated by how the colors range from green to blue. The sole of the foot and the tips of the toes should be a uniform red, not too dark and not too light. to indicate that they are all helping bear weight. A foot pressure scan can help review how your feet bears your weight and what type of arch you have. However, if you want to have a general idea of your foot arch type at home, you can dip your feet in water before stepping on pavement. The water imprint left by your foot would give you an idea of how high your arch is. A low arch shows very little curve. Sometimes the arch is so low or completely flat against the surface, which we consider as a flat foot. On the foot pressure scan, the line of the arch curve usually appears muddled, and usually shows fairly high pressure beneath the curve. Flat feet may show no curve at all, but instead show high pressure where the arch should have been. Low arches tend to have reduced elasticity, which means that the foot is less able to absorb shock from impact. The reduced shock absorption consequently means that the foot is more prone to fatigue and pain after standing or walking for long periods of time. Children are born with flat feet, but start to develop arches at around 2 to 3 years old. By around 4 to 6 years old, their arches should be fully formed. As a result, it's common to see babies and toddlers with flat feet or low arches, and is usually not a cause for concern. However, if a child still has low arches or flat feet by 7 years old, we highly recommend using arch support insoles to guide the child's feet development. On the other hand, elderly folks are also more likely to develop low arches. As we age, the muscles in our feet naturally start to lose stiffness and become softer, which causes the arches to start losing their forms and falling. This deterioration is escalated by lack of exercise and cause a lot of discomfort in the feet, knees, hips, back, and joints. A high arch shows a very large curve. In some cases, the middle section of the sole may just be barely touching the surface, and the arch appears as a large gap. On the foot pressure scan, there is less pressure than usual for the middle section of the foot, and the arch curve line is farther inward than usual. High arches, also known as pes cavus, can be hereditary or an acquired condition. They can also be symptoms of other conditions such as muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, spinal cord injuries, or stroke. While high arches are less common than low arches or flat feet, they increase the risk of several problems. Feet with high arches tend to have uneven weight distribution, which can easily create discomfort, especially in the forefoot and heel. Furthermore, because of the lateral arch isn't aligned properly, feet with high arches often have ankle instability, which increases the risk of falling. Other conditions that high arches may lead to include metatarsalgia, plantar fasciitis, hammer toes, and claw toes. Now that we've discussed the 3 arches of the feet and how much they support our bodies, it's easy to consider them as the foundation of the body. A building foundation is what helps supports and anchors the building, as well as resist movement of the earth. Similarly, as mentioned before, our feet help support our weight, absorb shock, and keeps us balanced. But what happens if there's a problem with any of our arches? If a foundation of a building has issues, it cannot properly support the building, and thus the entire building would be unstable. Likewise, if there is a problem with the arch, the rest of the body can easily become uneven and unstable. Improper arches can easily lead to uneven legs, uneven pelvis, or scoliosis, which in turn can cause a lot of discomfort in the back, lumbar, knees, and legs. Considering how influential the feet are to the rest of the body's comfort, it's highly important to maintain good foot health. We are Footarch Pro. We support your every step.